Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of House Resolution 568, which I introduced together with the distinguished ranking member of the committee, the gentleman from California, my friend Mr. Berman. The Iranian regime continues to pose an immediate and growing threat to the United States, to our allies, and to the Iranian people. In fact, just over the weekend, it was reported that the IAEA discovered a drawing that shows an explosive containment chamber of the type needed for nuclear arms-related texts. This was based on information from inside an Iranian military base. Iran remains the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, aiding multiple groups, including Hezbollah and Hamas, which continue to destabilize the Middle East and which are responsible for the deaths of Americans. It was only a few months ago that U.S. officials foiled a planned attack on U.S. soil that was commissioned by the Iranian regime, and the Iranian regime is believed to have been behind the attacks against Israeli embassies that took place earlier this year. I have much more to say, Mr. Speaker, but at this time I will reserve the balance of our time. For the Iranian regime, possession of the capability to produce a nuclear weapon would be almost as useful as actually having one. Tehran would be able to intimidate its neighbors, engage in even more threatening actions by reminding us that they could develop nuclear weapons anytime the regime wanted. Tehran might even decide not to reveal whether or not it had developed nuclear weapons, and thereby keeping the world guessing and off balance indefinitely, all while claiming innocence. Tehran would be in the driver's seat, and the security of the United States, Israel, and our many other allies would be in their hands. We need to make clear that containing a nuclear Iran is not an option, that nothing short of stopping Iran from developing nuclear weapons capability is good enough. So that is why Ranking Member Berman and I have introduced the bill before us, House Resolution 568, which strongly supports preventing the Iranian regime from acquiring nuclear weapons capability. It rejects any policy that would rely on efforts to contain a nuclear weapons-capable Iran. It supports the right and democratic aspirations of the Iranian people. And lastly, it urges the President to reaffirm the unacceptability of an Iran with a nuclear weapons capability and oppose any policy that would rely on containment as an option. With that, Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of our time. This resolution reaffirms the position of the House with respect to U.S. policy on Iran's nuclear program. Efforts to misrepresent this resolution really distracts from the real problem, which is the increasing threat posed by Iran's nuclear program and the need to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons capability. Tehran has repeatedly lied to the world about its secret nuclear activities. Tehran has violated its international non-proliferation obligations, and it has repeatedly threatened to destroy our ally Israel. Just earlier this year, Ayatollah Khamenei said, "This truly cancerous Israel must be destroyed in the region, and this will, without doubt, come to fruition." Now, it is abundantly clear that Iran cannot be trusted with uranium enrichment or any component of the nuclear program. Even the UN Security Council resolutions have demanded that Iran stop all uranium enrichment and repossessing. Unless compelled to change course, Iran will soon have all of the basic components or capabilities to produce a nuclear weapon. The only thing that will be left for them to do will be to put the pieces together. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency, Iran is expanding its stockpiles of uranium, advancing its missile capabilities, and burying and hiding its nuclear infrastructure. As if that were not enough, the smoking gun in the IAEA's November 2011 report was that Iran carried out, quote, work on the development of an indigenous design of a nuclear weapon, including the testing of components, end quote. In addition, the IAEA uncovered evidence that Iran was attempting to miniaturize a warhead to fit on top of a ballistic missile. Fast forward to this weekend. Just this weekend, drawings were revealed showing a secret chamber at an Iranian military facility of the type needed for nuclear weapons testing. Again, the regime is building up its capacities on all fronts. And when it has mastered all of these, Tehran would be able to intimidate its neighbors and engage in even more threatening actions, always with the threat that it could flip the switch and produce nuclear weapons at any time. At that point, the U.S. and other responsible nations would have no other option but sit in fear of this nuclear-armed state sponsor of terrorism. We must reaffirm our commitment through adoption of this resolution and stronger sanctions legislation to prevent this doomsday scenario from becoming a reality. With that, I reserve the balance of our time. Just 2 months ago, President Obama extended the national emergency, as we heard, with respect to Iran, declaring that the regime's activities pose, and I quote, an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States, end quote. Well, this resolution is an important statement clarifying congressional commitment to countering the Iranian threat. However, our focus must be on rapidly and dramatically ratcheting up sanctions without the glaring exceptions that we now have in order to put our boot on the throat of this dangerous regime. We must compel the Iranian regime to permanently and verifiably dismantle its nuclear program, abandon its unconventional and ballistic missile development programs, and end its support for violent extremists. We do not want to look back, Mr. Speaker, and wish that we had heeded the warning signs. We anxiously await the other body's strengthening and passage of companion legislation to measures that the House passed months ago. We must meet our responsibility to the American people and protect the security of our nation, our allies, and the world from this threat of a nuclear-capable Iran. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I also yield back the balance of my time.